you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. This is Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to chrisvossshow.com. We certainly appreciate you guys coming in, being a part of the podcast, because without you guys, we'd just be talking to a mic and probably getting our meds in our little rubber room that's behind the green screen here. So there you go. We have an amazing author who's joining us on the show, a multi-book author. But before we get to him, we have to do the begging, pleading, get on our knees, grovel a little bit, and say, can you please, for the love of God, refer the family, friends, and relatives to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss one on the tickety-tockety, and I don't know, there's something else I missed. The LinkedIn newsletter and the big 130,000 LinkedIn group, too. That's as well. You'll probably be seeing this in the LinkedIn newsletters. There you go, folks. As always, we have the most smartest, brightest people that come to you in the world. None of them are me. I'm just the idiot on the show with the mic. I mean, clearly we know that after 15 years. But for 15 years, we've been bringing you 3 to 4 shows a day, 15 to 20 shows a week of most amazing, brilliant minds. And again, I have to disclose this by attorney privilege. None of those people are me. That's why we have guests on the show, people. So there's smart people here. The CEOs, the billionaires, the White House presidential advisors, governors, Congress members, U.S. ambassadors, astronauts, TV and Pulitzer Prize winners. Damn it, people. What I'm telling you, there's smart people on this show. Or else, I don't know what that means. Today, we are joined by an amazing author. Faisal Haq is joining us on the show. His latest book is called Reinvent, Navigating Business Transformation in a Hyperdigital Era. Came out July 4th, 2023. We'll be talking about his books and all of the great stuff that goes into his books. He's written so many, I can't even count them all, but we'll do that. Welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Thank you for having me. I'm great. Thank you.
There you go. Thanks for coming. Give us your .com so people can find you on the interwebs.
Sure. It's faisalhaq.com, my name and .com. So
there you go. And you're an accomplished entrepreneur, thought leader on leadership, technology innovator, advisor to CEOs, BODs, BODs. I know what BODs are. I find them on Tinder. No, we'll have to find out what that means. And the U.S. government, and offer more than 25 years across industry success. What are BODs? And give us a 30,000 overview of what's inside your new book, Reinvent.
Look, Reinvent is a result of my 25 years of doing work with large corporations and government as well. And I do a lot of work with our federal government. And it's about how does the corporations and the large organization tune their organization to transform to the next level by utilizing the right technology and leveraging the technology that actually creates long-lasting impact for the organization with innovation and with high-performance teams. So that's what the book is about. And it's a lot about mindset and leadership mindset, obviously, which plays a big role in any kind of transformational journey.
Definitely. You got to have leadership there. Someone's got to lead that damn ship or else it kind of goes on the rocks. So do you talk about AI in the book and digitization, I think? Is that a factor?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't talk about technology today without talking about AI. Every other word today is AI, right? So
yeah.
we do.
I'm an AI podcast. You have no idea I'm not sitting here for real.
So you're not real. It's just all fake.
I'm just a hologram. Yeah.
Right. No, I mean, look, artificial intelligence, we have seen a huge movement in last 24 months. There are a lot of debate about, is it good? Is it bad? Is it going to destroy us? Is it going to transform our life altogether? None of us will ever have to work. I mean, there's all kind of conversation about AI. But, in reality is that it's somewhere in between, right? I mean, it's just like anything else. How we use it is going to impact how we progress. And if we don't utilize it properly, then it will create a lot of harm. We do talk about AI a great deal, and both the benefit and also the how to govern it so it doesn't go out of hand.
There you go. We just like 2 hours ago, I think 4 hours ago, we got off the line with my good friend Gary Shapiro, who runs CTA and the CES show. You're probably familiar with the big CES show every year in Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing he was talking about, he goes, every company needs to think of themselves as a technology company, no matter what it is. Even if it seems like you're not a technology company, you kind of have to think that way. Do you agree with that?
100%. Look, I wrote a Wall Street Journal article 20 some years ago. And my argument was that this is just right before the dot-com bubble, right? And I was arguing that if the companies and the leaders don't learn how to use technology, not only they're going to be obsolete, but their organizations are going to become irrelevant. And if you look at last 20 years, we've seen a lot of companies come and go. And we've seen a lot of the traditional companies are no longer in business, right? Mm-hmm. So if you follow that trend, you can only imagine what will happen with the next generation technology that are coming, and that's going to change the way we work, the way we play, the way we communicate, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you started this show 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. Imagine 20 years ago, I mean, we couldn't have done this, because the bandwidth wasn't there, right? Yeah. I mean, it's improved vastly since then, right? So every business model has completely changed because of technology, and that will continue to be the case. And it's not just for the business part of it. I mean, you can look at healthcare, you can look at, the entertainment. Every facet of our life has completely changed because of technology. So obviously some good and obviously some bad, but overall, I mean, we can't live without technology.
Definitely. I mean, I've seen technology and things that I never thought could be adopted or adapted to technology. I flunked second grade. The like farming, you see like these farming tractors they have now.
Yeah,
these things are crazy, like robot AI machines. I saw someone profiling, I think with the Wall Street Journal, a new farming machine that actually goes around and the AI will sense which are the weeds and which is the growing root, and it will laser the weed, kill it, and it knows the difference, and it just does that driving down the road, and you're just like, that's pretty ingenious. So there you go.
Absolutely. I mean, look, if you look at healthcare, right, mm-hmm. the opportunity with technology in healthcare is enormous, because the precision surgery precision, the diagnostic of cancer, where you actually look at the DNA structure of human body and decide which cells are going array because of cancer growth. All of those are going to be far more accurate because of the technology than what of the software and the technology behind it is far more accurate than what human being can do on a real-time basis, right? So mm-hmm. so that's the opportunity, right? But you can also look at what could happen if all of these things become rogue, right? Because a lot of these, we talk about AI is mimicking the human behavior and is learning from the human history, right? So if you consider from that point of view, all the bad things we do as human is also going to be reflected with the technology, and it's going to be proportionally incremental. Right?
There you go. I was listening to Mark Andreessen argue with Sam. It's one of my favorite podcasts. But he was arguing with them. People have heard me reference this on the show before. But he was talking. Mark Andreessen kind of has a Pollyanna sort of blue sky thing to it, and God bless him, he's got money in it. But he was like, it's sucked. Yeah, I sucked in the greatest things of humanity. And Sam Harris is saying to him, yeah, but it's also sucked in the worst of us. Like I'm sure it's pulled in Hitler and atrocities that we've done across the world and horrors, and we always haven't been good people. I don't think we're still good people yet. Working on it. I don't know. It might be human nature is the problem at its root, but and so it has all those. One thing that's interesting to me that I'll run by you that came out of my thinking on this is, and I think Sam Harris referenced this. He goes, as human beings, our paradigm is to breed, populate the species, breed, and keep the humanity alive. That's kind of our biological paradigm. We try and think that we do all this intelligent stuff and because we're high-minded, but really we're just trying to press chicks and breed and raise the kids so that they survive and propagate the species. That's the biological thing. But even though this these AR machines are sucking in the best of us, a lot of what we have designed has been limited by that thinking. Has been limited by the whole, propagate the species thinking. This thing is going to think in a way, and it's going to be its own species, is the theorem. It's going to be its own species that thinks about things that we don't think about, because it's not going to have any limits, or any limits for that matter.
Of course. I mean, look, I'm working on my next book, which really around this topic of what's humanity, right? And how do we think about humanity in general, and what's the limitation of humanity, the human thinking, and how does the new entity like AI takes that for good and for bad, right? I mean, you can almost look at what has happened because of the social media. I mean, if you look at social media, it's a reflection of the collective soul of humanity, right? So there's lots of good stuff in there, right? But there's also all kind of garbage and all kind of things that has happened because of social media. I mean, internet was the connector. Social media was like kind of the accelerator of the mirror of humanity. AI is going to be the good, bad, ugly, and the worst of humanity, all wrapped in one, right? So that's where the danger comes in, because AI is like a children. It's like a child. It's learn. What is the source of that knowledge? The source of that knowledge is the collective knowledge of humanity, right? So, and then it will create deduction. So the people who argues for it says, well, it's going to take all the good and it's going to make it even better. That's one set of argument, but you can also argue that it will take all the bad and it will make it even worse. And not to mention that there will always some rogue character that will try to benefit from doing bad things. Like it's the human history, right? I mean, that's what humanity does. So that's where it gets tricky, right? I mean, it's just like, we don't know what will be the ultimate thoughts, ultimate result. And, a lot of time, if you look at all the sci-fi movies, I mean, we see that some robot comes in, knocks on your door and grabs you and does this. That's actually a primitive perspective. The more futuristic perspective is that the machines are going to manipulate your mind, and it will make you as the do, which you already see, because if you look at social media, we get influenced by whatever is happening on social media and we act upon it, right? So imagine now some other entity is manipulating your thoughts with emotion and with your, tapping into your greed, desire, whatever the case may be, and you're going to become a toy or a weapon. And that's where it gets really interesting if you start thinking about it. And I think the more we lose our critical thinking ability, the worse we will become as humanity.
Jesus. And we're kind of there now when you see our politics and what's going on.
Absolutely.
Separation.
Absolutely.
I mean, the same thing you're talking about AI doing to us, Mark Zuckerberg already did with Facebook in 2016, where basically they hijacked the algorithms and got some back end weaponry. And basically, even now, I mean, the algorithm is designed for emotion. It's designed to fire you up. Yeah. It's not designed to send you something like, hey, would you like to read some of the works of Einstein? It's like, hey, this guy is, I don't know, lighting children on fire over here. What do you think about that? And you're like, what? Children on fire? And whatever the hell it is. And, even politicians do the same thing. I think they probably always have over time. But yeah, it's designed to tap into your emotion. But that will be interesting. I haven't thought about that thing where, geez, if it became Mark Zuckerberg 10.0, because I'm sure it won't be 2.0, it'll be 10.0. It could be really crazy. The one thing I've been thinking about lately that I'm starting to run people by is the amount of disinformation that can be created with using AI, and how that can be manipulated for politics. We've had people on the show that have talked about this upcoming politics season. We're probably going to see a lot of deep fakes, a lot of different manipulation. And, you may see like whole videos. We see that now. We see videos that are fake, maybe we'll see a presidential candidate who's, I don't know, doing something heinous, and the video will look real, and a lie gets around the world faster than whatever, and maybe it will make a difference in a campaign, maybe it won't. You just don't know. But it almost seems like for the amount of disinformation AI can generate at a just incredibly massive scale, we almost need to start designing some AI systems that are somehow going to get to the truth. I mean, there has to be an objective truth. I would think you're probably more of a scientist and a smarter guy than I am, but I think to keep a society balanced, there has to be some sort of segment of what we can all agree on as objective truth.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a combination of a lot of different things that you can put the genie in the bottle, right? I mean, it's obviously technology, because, you can say, look, let's create some boundaries where it can tell you whether it's a digital entity versus a real entity. That's from a technology point of view, right? But if you look at from a ethics and law and governance point of view, you can also start putting together policy where you're not allowed to use digital persona. I mean, like, how to, the idea of that, well, I want to create a persona and that's going to be my face to the world. That's a pretty dangerous approach, because, that's where the deep fake starts, become mainstream, right? So it's a combination of ethics, law, governance, and technology. And there are a lot of smart people around the globe is working on it, including the various government. I'm sure you've seen those things coming out of Europe. There are stuff going on U.S. Department of Defense, where there's an organization called NIST that trying to put together some governance models so that organization doesn't go rogue and start creating engines that are not that are harmful, right? But it's a collective responsibility, and I hope and pray that we have learned from our at least last 10 years of human patterns and behavior and being manipulated by algorithm and divisiveness that we have managed to create worldwide, right? I mean, it's just like your point. I mean, hey, look at this video, somebody's burning the children, and then we all pile on into it because it tapped into, the deep emotion we have about certain things, and we completely lose perspective. We lose the ability to think critically about anything, and we take it for gospel and we go at it, right?
Yeah.
So these things, it's a collective. It's really a collective responsibility, and we have to, each one of us have to conduct ourselves in a way, because we're now teaching a child which is going to be 1,000 times more smarter than any of us were ever before, right? Because it has the computational power, right? So that's really the challenge, and I think we're all going to have to wake up. It's like you've seen that in movies, or we say it's not real, it's not real. Everything you see, you have to say, is it real? Is it real? Is it real? Right?
Yeah.
Or we're almost there.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's the amount of disinformation that can put out and already puts out, and we already put out ourselves manually. I mean, there's evil people doing stuff. You have governments that are activating AI or trying to win the AI war, and I'm sure they're going to use it for technically techno war. They're people that don't like us because we have freedom, and they don't, and they think autocracy is really cool because if it treats them well, and we're just that ugly example to the world that the human spirit and the mind and freedom are important, but even then we may have our days. But you're right that everyone needs to have that collective sort of responsibility. I remember the jokes it wasn't a joke when the internet started. Everyone's like, hey, if everyone gets more information and data and they can learn more on the internet, everyone will be smarter. A rising tide will lift all boats. Turns out that wasn't the truth. We just let the village idiots were able to find each other and then gang up over the internet.
You're right. You're right on. I mean, look. You talk about this. I mean, just think about so many advancements that's happened. I mean, there's no denial of the good and the advancement that has happened because of the technology and the connectivity and all the things that we have, the things we can learn. It's really mind-boggling, right? I mean, it used to take like years to do research. Now it takes days to do research, right? So because you have all this information, but at the same time, look, I mean, you talk about politics, just a historical perspective. Misinformation about candidates against each other, it's nothing new. I mean, Abraham Lincoln did that. Thomas Jefferson did that with newsletters. right? So, but the difference was that, during those time, it was a kind of like a leaflet, and it would go around like 100 people or 200 people. Now it just goes instantly globally and inform opinion at a space that's not controllable, right? So that's why you can organize riots, you can organize protests in a matter of hours, not matter of days or hours. So that's where the danger comes in. And to your point, there are lots of bad people out there that doesn't like the way of our life. I mean, one of the reasons I bounced from private sector to public sector, it's my way of giving to this country that has given me so much, and I do a lot of work with DoD, and it's a major issue. The information war is the biggest war we have on our hand.
Definitely. Speaking of DoD, one of the things I think that Sam Harris identified is, we built the bomb. And the bomb could kill us. We could kill ourselves. Yep. But we still had to be the ones that pushed the button. Somebody manually had to go push a button. But AI, if you connect it to the Department of Defense's, weaponry and stuff, NORAD, and you connected all those things, whether you do it through AI chips that it can eventually search and seek out, or whether you connect it directly to the weapon system. And you can think, well, we're high-minded for that. Well, what if Russia does it? We've seen how incompetent their military is. What if they connect their AI to their button? China, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, India and Pakistan. Jesus, do we want that thing going down? Of course. I'm surprised that hasn't even gone off yet at this point. But maybe it's somewhat of a turn. But it's you think of what can happen if AI gets access to certain things. And so, there you go. Let's fall back in your book, because this has been a great technology discussion and a reason for your book on why, there's a hyper-digital era and some of the things we need to think about. You talk in your book about 3 distinct sections. The first section is why, the case for business transformation in the hyper-digital era, discussing some of the things that we've done so far as a CEO of a company, as a business, as a leader. Why do we need to start thinking about transforming to adapt for a higher hyper-digital era?
Look, all the things we just talked about, if you dissect it from a business point of view, the way we communicate, the way we sell, the way we market, the way we do supply chain management, the way we interact with the global resource pool, right? They're all now on digital infrastructure. So if your business, as a business leader, you're not modeling your business to take advantage of that, you'll be instantly obsolete, right? So that's where that comes from. That's the business case for being digitally savvy and thinking about your business, where digital is your business. Even if you look at a beer company, right? The beer company, they make beer, and then the beer goes to a consumer. But the way they market, the way you connect, the way you have using social media with the influencers, the way you're utilizing supply chain to make sure the raw materials are coming at the right time to create the right flavor, and create the right flavor at the right time of the year because of the seasonal changes. All of those are enabled by some sort of a digital technology, right? And so those are very simple, basic example, and you can expand upon that in a multitude of ways. But here's where it gets really tricky, and it's kind of relates to the conversation we just have had, because we collectively as a society have to think about businesses that are responsible for global society as a whole, right? So the things we push out there, is it going to really have a long-lasting positive impact, or are we going to just make some short-term money, and that's why we are in business? And by the way, that doesn't work anyway, because people see through that, right? When you manipulate people to buy stuff that are not value-added or harmful, people, they push away from the brand that you're pushing out there, right? So this is where that mindset of long-term thinking and impact on society as a general comes at play, along with how does digital technology allows us to create a sustainable future so we human society can thrive in the long term. So that's really what I try to portray in the first section of the book. And the second section of the book, we talk about, okay, so you got that mindset, you want to do good, and by doing good, you want to do well for yourself or your business or organization. Then how do you go about doing it? How do you think about technology? How do you plan for it? How do you mobilize your organization and create that innovation culture whereby people can input their diverse thought process, diversity in the context of thoughts and skill set, not just diversity in the context of the ethnicity or a gender. It's really the diversity of thought process and skill set. How do you apply that to create that kind of model? And then how does that really create a long-lasting value? And we propose a methodology that I have applied over the 20 years in all these organizations that I've worked with to take them to the next level.
There you go. And these are important for leaders, CEOs to think about. The next section that you talk about is transformation versus digitalization, necessary steps. Talk to us about what those action items mean.
Sure. I mean, look, digitization is kind of like the first step. Like, for example, I got volume of paper that I used to stack in my file cabinet. I don't need to do that now. I can put it on a drive and I can have better access. So that's basic example of digitization, right? Transformation is when you are saying, okay, I have all these vast amount of information. What do I do to learn from my past, and how do I plan for the future, knowing what I've done in the past that worked or didn't work, and where the market is going and how it's going? It's really taking advantage of the information and turning that into analytics for better decision making, right? So that's where the transformation comes in play. And, obviously, as we know that, 90% of the things that you try often don't come a reality. It fails for whatever reason. So you have to create a portfolio of innovation, and you have to kind of push them forward and see which one sticks. And then say, okay, well, I've tried about 10 things, and 5 of them worked and 3 of them died out, but one of them really outlier, so I'm going to devote my resource around it. So that's what the transformative mindset and transformational model comes in play, where just like your financial portfolio, I mean, you're not going to, if you're smart, you're not going to take all your savings and put it against one real estate investment and hope for the best. You're going to probably spread out in different areas. Similarly, if you are a leader in a large organization, you make bets on different things, and you create a innovation portfolio, and you communicate with the organization to portray why they're doing. This why aspect is probably far more important than anything else, because if people do not understand why they're doing what they're doing, they never buy into it, right? And so that element is super critical and super important.
There you go. Note to self: quit investing in one real estate vehicle. Oh, there you go. I just had to make that note. some of the statistics you quoted on running attempts to, I'm just going to bury that joke. I can't set it up. The final section, you talk about what to do, navigating with lifts. What are lifts?
Yeah. So it's a 5-step model, a process where I talk about where you have to learn, and you have to investigate, you have to formulate, and you have to mobilize, and then you have to monitor, right? So it's an acronym that I use to describe that 5 steps. So the step number 1 is really analyzing where you are and where do you fit in the world and where you can add your value as an organization, right? And I'm sure you've heard of this idea of blue ocean and red oceans theory, where you may want to go after a market segment that are less populated or less competitive because you have a unique offering or unique, capability. So it starts looking at that and then formulating the ideas in the context of portfolio, whereby I say, look, I've got 4 or 5 ideas that I'm going to tackle this year in terms of my growth strategy by utilizing technology, and I'm going to try them out and see which one of them really adds value. Once you've done that, then you have to mobilize. Once you have that strategy, then you have to mobilize your organization by communicating why it's important for the organization and how does individual people play a role to contribute in that, because this is about innovation and creativity, right? So creative and innovative people doesn't buy into things unless they can see why they're doing it and how their particular skill set plays a role into that why, right? It's like calling up on the higher purpose, right? So you have to mobilize the organization with that why, and then you can start executing it. And while you're executing it, you have to start monitoring to see whether the execution model is really working and where can you tweak it so that it can be modified or adapted and sometimes abandoned because it's not working anymore, right? So that's kind of the process from beginning to end to mobilizing the entire organization to be transformative.
There you go. LIFTS. Learn, investigate, formulate, take off, and study. Once again, I'll be using that on my Tinder profile, my dating gaming. So there you go. Give us your final pitch as we go out on the show for people to order the books, get to know you better, and reach out for whatever services you offer on your website.
Sure. Look, I wrote the books and I pledged all my book proceeds for cancer research. I have a cancer surviving son. He's now 21. So it has become a cause for me. So all the book proceed goes to cancer research. It's particularly for myeloma, multiple myeloma, which is the cancer that he suffers from. If you buy the book, you'll be doing some good to some kid or somebody who's suffering. So that's what the books are. The work I do is really for, Fortune 500 and for large government agencies. I have a piece of software that I use to do these transformational type of work. And you can find about my work on my website. And I'm an avid knowledge sharer. So every day I push out something on LinkedIn. There's nothing to sell. You don't have to buy anything. Anybody can take advantage of that and maybe learn something, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're a CEO of a large organization or a coach that trying to mobilize a team for higher performance. You can leverage those nuggets of information and knowledge that I share by learning from other people as well as my own work.
So you're trying to help everybody be smarter, which is what we talked about earlier in the show. There you go. And it sounds like a worthy effort as well. Thank you very much for coming on the show, sir. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Thank you. And come back for your future books. You're pretty prolific. How many do you have now?
I have 8. So the next one would be 9th if I can manage to finish it. So
there you go. I have a feeling you'll do it. You'll pull it off. And your last several have been Wall Street Journal bestsellers too, as well. We should get that plug in there. Yeah. There you go. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Thanks, our audience, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the Tickety Talkety, and I don't know, there's a LinkedIn newsletter in the big LinkedIn 130,000 group over there. Thanks for being here. We certainly appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time.